The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans. It is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. The Ride Home Rants podcast wants to thank you for listening and let everybody know that we do offer monthly subscriptions to help support the show in other ways other than listening and downloading each episode. What you will get with each subscription is you will get bonus episodes that aren't released to everybody. You will also have a chance to ask me anything each and every month where I will put out a special episode just to answer your questions. You will also get more exclusive content that is not released to everybody. To subscribe to the show, go and click on the link in the description of this episode, and I look forward to your added support and to help us keep this show going. The Ride Home Rants podcast is also brought to you by Buddy's Beard Care. Buddy's Beard Care provides premium men's grooming products at an affordable price. Products are made in Ohio, and Buddy's Beard Care supports local. The majority of our supplies are from other Ohio-based companies. You can find them on social media at Buddy's Beard Care or online at buddysbeardcare.com. Use the promo code BONO15 and he will save you 15%. I've been using these products for a little over 6 months now, and my beard has never felt healthier, it has never grown faster, and according to my wife, it has never felt softer. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by former guest of the show in Matt Landowski in Sweet Hands Sports. Elevate their game with Sweet Hands Sports. Our sports gloves are designed for champions, providing ultimate grip and durability. Achieve greatness with every match. Choose Sweet Hands Sports for the winning edge. Grip your victory at sweethandsports.com. Use the promo code BONO10 and he will save you 10%. He has sent me a complimentary pair of golf gloves. They are so comfortable, durable, and breathable. You won't find a better pair of gloves out there. Again, sweethandsports.com, promo code BONO10. Lastly, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Deemed Fit, a clothing company from first responders for first responders. These products are so comfortable. They look great. They have great messages on them. They are provided to support first responders, especially those who worked through COVID. All of the proceeds are going to helping veterans and first responders with their mental and physical health. This is a great cause. I support anything that has to do with our first responders and our veterans. Again, deemedfit.co, promo code Mike Bono will save you 20%. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I got a great episode for us today, but first and foremost, we did just land a new sponsor, and that is Web Western. It is apparel for those who aren't afraid of hard work and a hard day's work, for those who like to work on the land, hunting, fishing, anything you could think of or just working the land. Web Western is for you. I am wearing one of the new hats for those of you watching on Patreon. Web Western, no BS, just hard work. Go to webwestern.com. Use the promo code Mike Bono. Save yourself 10% off of the first purchase there. Again, webwestern.com. Promo code Mike Bono. We are going to be talking today to a panel of guests about all things Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves and Guys, I need the answer to these two questions first and foremost. Obviously, I need your name, but when did you get your own car for the first time? And which animal would you rather be, a skunk or a fox? And Mister, we're going to start with you.
Yo, yo, it's your boy Vampire Coach, Mr. Ask Q, from the nasty Natty, Ohio. Uh, I would rather be golly, I'm gonna have to go with a skunk on this one, go a little different. And yeah, I'll be a skunk, absolutely.
Skunk.
Get all the poison away from me, you know what I mean? And so to answer the question about when did I get my first car, let me answer that in two quick answers real quickly. The first time, I was 16 years old when I got my license. I was able to drive my dad IROC Z28. But as far as me actually going to get my first car, I am 49 years old, getting ready to be 50. I have never actually had the opportunity or needed to buy my own car. So I have never ever purchased my own car yet. And
Okay.
but it's right around the corner though, because I'm gonna get me one soon.
We gonna get you one, Mister, for sure. Next on the list, we have Cole.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Cole Schneider. Let's see. Animal. I gotta go. I think I'm gonna go with a skunk as well. You got that quiet kind of power, you know? You're not flashy, you're just stinking things up to keep people away from you. Um, First car, I was 18 years old. I got a 1990 Nissan Maxima, and that was a great car. I had that car for a while. Got a lot of compliments on it too. And
I
this
can
would have been
imagine.
in 2006, I think I got that car. So 16 years old.
That's
Okay.
a booty car.
That's what, yeah, I lived in Baltimore at the time and I used to like everybody loved that fucking car. It was so funny. Love it.
Gotcha. Next on the list, we got Betty.
Hey everybody, you know me, it's Fiddy. I got my first car actually when I was 23, so I never owned a car until I was done with college. Of course, I had my license, but in college, I would use my roommate's car, my parents' car. But I got my first car at 23. It was a Toyota Corolla, which lasted me until the age of 36. So I had it for 13 years. It was like 40% of my life was with that Toyota Corolla. It was a great car. Unfortunately, just the engine doesn't wear out, but the body of the car wears out. So I had to get rid of that. I think I'm going to go with a Fox because they're like sly and they're like the polar opposite of me because I'm talkative and a Fox don't say anything. You don't even know what the Fox says. So I'm going to go with that. But I will say this, Bono, though. I like that. I like the new sponsor that we got, and it'd be really great if Sam Elliott could do the pre-roll for us with that and talk about Western wear with his like deep like voice of like the wilderness. If I
Do
was a
that.
country man and lived in West Virginia, I would want Sam Elliott to narrate my life story. So
That
we
would.
should get him to narrate
I,
the pre-roll for that.
I will say this until this actually happens on this show for sure. Until we can get Sam Elliott to do the pre-roll read for Web Western. I'm super excited about them too as well. But we got one more guest here, and Dave.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? It's D Frank. And, these two questions are kind of intertwined. My first car was a 1990 Ford Tempo. It had four-wheel drive. They didn't make very many of them, and it was really good at running over animals, which is why it didn't last very long. In order to pick up chicks, you had to be pretty smooth to pick them up in a 94 Tempo. The animal that I would choose between a skunk and a fox, I grew up in classic Looney Tunes, man. Pepe Le Pew, the skunk, man. He got the girls. He got the girls, man.
Got them
Pepe Le
all.
Pew.
Mister, I'm not gonna lie. I was waiting for the answer that Dave gave for you with Pepe Le Pew and the skunk. I really thought that's where you were gonna go with this when we started. We were
Yeah.
talking about this before we got rolling. But for me, kind of like Mister, I got a hand-me-down '91 Oldsmobile Aurora when I was 16 from my parents. But actually got my first car when I was 23, and it was a 2016 Mazda 3. So yeah, went from a big old boat of a car to the smallest thing possible that my 6'5" ass would fit into. So yeah, it was a good car. It lasted me a while, but had to get back to bigger trucks and
SUVs now. Can't be riding these little cars anymore. But we're not here to talk about cars. Oh, for the animal, I forgot that one. I gotta go Fox, just mainly on the sheer fact I don't know about but either of these two animals wouldn't be my first choice, but everyone else said skunk, so I'm gonna say Fox. Like Fitty, I'm gonna go with Fitty, and we're gonna be a Fox for sure. But let's start talking about all things Schwarzenegger here. And Mister, we'll start with you. If you had to rank Arnold's big three career highlights of being an actor, a bodybuilder, and a politician, from 1 to 3, and 1 being the highest and 3 being the lowest, where would you rank them?
I would say bodybuilder, 1, movie theater, 2, and then politician, 3.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
So,
Fitty, what about you?
I would say bodybuilders 1. I'm going to say politicians 2, though. Here's why: because he did something probably none of us may ever seen ever again. Is he went from literally being an actor and an actor and a bodybuilder to the governor, a 2-time governor, in the state of California with no political experience. There's been very few people that have ever like transitioned from movies completely over. You had like Ronald Reagan, right? But Ronald Reagan was also involved in some other politics. He didn't jump to like the governor spot. And then also the thing about Arnold, too, is, I mean, not being political or anything, but he did that in California as a 2-time Republican governor. So I would say you would probably have to give him a little bit of credit with that, just because what he did was very different, wasn't seen. Probably the next closest person was actually, for all us wrestling fans, Jesse the Body
see,
Ventura with
Yeah.
what he did in Minnesota, but he did that as like an independent candidate, but he was also a mayor before that. But then I would say probably acting is number 3. But beyond, yeah, it's weightlifting first, and then probably it could be flipped very easily. I would say politician second, and then probably movie actor third.
Okay. D. Frank, what about you?
Oh, I mean, it's in chronological order, right? If he doesn't start as a bodybuilder, then the other opportunities in America don't come for him. And so I think you do have to do number 1. As an actor, number 2, his just catalog of movies is so extensive. And it went all the way from Conan, where they had to dub his voice in, to, the Expendables, right? So he runs the whole gamut. However, I'm with Fitty, man. His work as a politician, particularly as a centrist right candidate who, even today continues to put out a ton of, he puts out a daily newsletter that I get every day, because it's just common sense stuff in America, in a place where there isn't enough common sense anymore.
Heard that. Cole, what about you?
Yeah, for me personally, I think I got to go acting number 1, just because that's what I know him mostly as. Bodybuilding, I think it's like D. Frank said, without bodybuilding, he never would have been the guy that he was in acting. But, the politician side, it's one of those things where he did have a lot of good health initiatives as well for kids at the time when he was in there. And he's done stuff in the past for, folks that are maybe lower income, things along those lines. So you got to give it to him on number 3 as well when it comes to being a politician.
Yeah, I got you on that one. I'm pretty consistent with everyone here. Pretty much, bodybuilding, acting, and then politician. I feel like that's a fair order. Mainly because bodybuilding is what gave him, I guess, his name to fame, which led to the acting, which then led to the politician. So yeah, you can't have him get to where he was without the bodybuilding, I think. So that's obviously got to be number 1 for sure. But Cole, stay with you. If I could talk tonight, that'd be great. What are your 3 most personal favorite Arnold movies?
All right. So number 1 is my all-time favorite, Terminator 2. I think that's probably going to be a pretty popular pick. It's James Cameron. I love James Cameron's take on Terminator series. I think it's a fantastic movie as just a general movie. So I got to go T2. Number 2, a lot of people are probably going to hate this, but I got to go Last Action Hero, because when I was a kid, that was one of my favorite movies of all time. I watched it probably 40 times in 1 year. And then I think that, Predator is one of the coolest movies ever. So Predator's right there, right behind it. So
Okay. D. Frank, what about you?
Well, I'm kind of surprised that Cole pulled Last Action Hero because that's a great pull.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. There's another movie that it kind of ages me as a '90s baby in the fact that I love True Lies. I thought that was phenomenal. Um, and I think honestly, you guys are going to hate this, but his turn as kindergarten cop doing a little comedy was classic. Like there's so many lines from that movie. It's not a tumor that was just so great.
Yeah, that's you pulled a good one there with Kindergarten Cop. But Betty, what about you?
Probably my favorite is probably Conan the Destroyer, because he was like so like just awesome in that with like Will Chamberlain, and people didn't know Andre the Giant actually played the monster in that. So I love him in that. I thought it was just really great. And I'd probably say Predator was number two. And then Terminator 1. I love Terminator 2, but Terminator 1 is probably my third favorite with him, because that whole frame, though, was in the 80s. And that was like before we knew 90s Arnold, right? Like those movies kind of made him. So I really like to be like nostalgic with that. But those three are definitely my favorite.
I got you, Mister. What about you?
I tell you what, man, those are all good and great picks, man. But I might have to, one of mine is Total Recall, man. I can watch that movie a lot and more and more. Total Recall, The Running Man, love that one. And then I'm probably gonna have to go with either probably Predator, man. Predator was you know what I'm saying, it was a classic, the first one, with all them guys in there, man, all them, former wrestlers that was in there, man. So those are mine, man. And you can't, Commando was a good one too, but
Yeah, there's so many that it's tough to narrow down three. For me, T2 for sure. Um, just that the whole Terminator series is great, and plus having Mark Christopher Lawrence on the show way back when we basically first got started, T2 is definitely uh up there for me. Um, I gotta go Predator for my number two, and it's such a tough pick for number three. So since we're around the holidays, I'm gonna go with Jingle All the Way. Just to add a little bit of comedy, and it's close to the holidays. We're in November, so we're gonna throw a little holiday favorite in there all the way, and just but it was a close one with Kindergarten Cop for me, just because of the lines. Put that cookie down. Like
right.
you got those with Jingle All the Way. You could always have all those one-liners in there. So that's it for me with those three for sure. Mister, have you ever seen Arnold in Conan in the in the Conan movies? Uh, that would be Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer. If so, what are your thoughts on these movies?
You know what? I mean, I like both of them. But I tell you, another one was Red Sonja. I don't know if you guys remember that one they was in, but that was a good one, man. Um, but but Conan the Barbarian, the first one, I love that one. I can watch that one all day long. Uh, it really, what I'm saying, it's show off how buff he was, in those movies, man. But that one though, but Conan the Barbarian, but I also like Red Sonja. That was another one. It was like a spinoff from the Conan Barbarian, Conan Destruction.
I got you. Freddie, what about you?
Oh yeah, no, I love both Conans. Conan the Barbarian was great. I mean, I love James Earl Jones. He had a great voice as well, like right there with Sam Elliott, like the voice of God type of deal. Really like that. The Snake King thing, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it was pretty cheesy when they had like James Earl Jones transform into the snake. It was very cheesy. You could tell it was very 1982. Conan the Destroyer, though, I really like that. Like I talked about, like Andre the Giant was in that, Will Chamberlain, Grace Jones. It's a great cast. The one thing I'll say, and if people don't know, like you can look this up. So when they were making that movie, and sorry, it's going to get just off topic for a second, but Wilt was in his 50s. You had Arnold, then you had like prime Andre the Giant, WWF.
Mhm.
And it's quoted that Arnold said that he was the weakest out of the three of them, but he said Wilt Chamberlain was the strongest human being he's ever ever weightlifted with. And there was always stories about that, but he said Will Chamberlain, pound for pound, is probably the strongest person he's ever seen in weightlifting. He was even stronger than Andre the Giant, who can move cars. I mean, because he was so big. But he said Will Chamberlain's pure strength, I think he talked about him benching like 500 pounds in his 50s. Talked about just how freakish of an athlete, which we talked about on the one show about the greatest athletes of all time, about Will Chamberlain. So yeah, you can look it up. Arnold talked about that. He said Will Chamberlain was freakishly strong. But yeah, I love both Conans. It's definitely really great, and probably the best one is probably in the Destroyer when they're going through the waterfall to go into the thing, and the guy's like, my brother's cousins, uncles, sisters, nephews, neighbors said that there's a secret passageway through here. And then he's repeating it, but he keeps messing it up. And he's like, my neighbor's cousins, brothers, sisters, dads, girlfriend. And Grace Jones just starts screaming at him and like, who even cares? Like, who cares about your brother's cousins, sisters, nephews, girlfriends, whatever. So I always just found super humor in that, but love both Conans.
Gotcha. D. Frank, what about you?
Yeah, so I prefer Arnold Schwarzenegger when he actually could speak a little bit of English. Well, I think the Conan movies are good. I think they're a little lower on the totem pole for me. And Fiddy, I don't think you're technically allowed to say Wilt Chamberlain and pound for pound in the same sentence.
That's facts for sure. Cool. What about you with these movies?
Yeah, I'm kind of with D. Frank on those. I've watched those movies a few times, but it's been a long time since I've gone through them. I will say they're both perfectly like mythical, muscly mayhem movies, so it's fun in that way. One of the best scenes is when he's getting whipped around in a circle when he's fighting. It's just such a funny scene. He's like, oh, it's great. Yeah, those movies are fantastic. They're just not like top of my list.
Yeah, they're great. Again, not top of my list like you there, Cole, but yeah, there's a lot of hidden comedy in those movies too as well. Little lines that if you're not paying attention, you'll miss them. Like what Cole was saying with spinning around and the brothers, sisters, mothers, cousins, daughters twice removed, whatever. Yeah, it was, just that whole thing with that. Like if you're not paying attention, like you miss a lot of it. And I think that's what makes it, it's up there, but it's not in my top 5 even for me for Arnold. But Cole, Arnold changed the game in bodybuilding and in weightlifting, and I know you're not too familiar because you came in when he was doing movies. Do you think there will ever be someone like him again in bodybuilding though? I mean, we have the Arnold Classic and everything like that. Now there's a whole competition built around him. Do you think that'll ever happen again?
No, I don't think it's really, if it hasn't happened yet, I don't think it's going to happen again, right? It's just he's like one of those guys that he was above what his genre was in a lot of ways. I don't really know the history as to why he became that way. I know that he had the physique and all of that, but it's kind of a crazy thing for him to hit that superstar status as a weightlifter. I don't really know the history behind it. If anybody actually knows that, it would be pretty interesting to hear.
It's a lot from where he grew up. I mean, weightlifting was kind of all he had. And then it was a dream of his to make it to America, to be a professional bodybuilder. And if anybody has ever seen any of Bill Burr's stand-ups, he does a whole skit on Arnold Schwarzenegger and like his goals and just how ridiculous they sounded to the normal person that didn't have his mindset. Like, oh, I'm going to move to America and I'm going to become a famous bodybuilder. And he does. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to start acting and start doing movies with kids in Kindergarten Cop and all this other stuff. And then he was like, oh, and then I'm going to marry a Kennedy. And everyone's like, you are out of your mind. And he does that. And then now he was a politician. So it's just, he just keeps raising the bar. And it's just his mindset that he had growing up in bodybuilding was kind of what it was. He just always liked lifting weights because it got him away from everything in where he was growing. For the life of me, I can't think of the country where he grew up right now. Austria. Thank you.
Austria.
Yep. Thank you. I could not, for the life of me, the name just gone. But yeah, that's just where he grew up. That was all he had to get him away from there, and to America, which is ultimately where he wanted to be. Um, why do I know this useless knowledge? I don't know. I'm full of it. I know a bunch of useless facts that get me nowhere in life right now, but that's one of them. But yeah, that's kind of the story there, Cole, to answer that question for you.
Cool.
And where I heard that, I have no idea. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will. But that's just what I've heard through the grapevine and everything like that. But to Frank, let's talk about, what about you?
Yeah, so I don't think that you could have an Arnold Schwarzenegger story per se anymore. When he was coming up in the late 70s and early 80s, the 80s were just a decade of excess. And so, the whole idea of steroids, being common, if you think of the NFLers that were involved with it, if you think of the professional wrestlers, and by the way, look at them now, they're a little worse for wear because of it. The 80s weren't real kind to a lot of those folks, later on. And then, of course, in the 90s, you had Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire. And then all of a sudden there came kind of a negative connotation to that enormous, jacked action hero kind of situation. If you think about the action heroes today, just look at the Running Man in 1987 when Schwarzenegger did it. He was ripped out of his mind. Now you've got Glenn Powell, who, dude's fit, but he's not jacked like that. That sort of epitomized the 80s, was that enormous built. You did the Stallone show, right? That whole kind of age of excess. I don't think you're not going to have that again.
No, it was a different time where people wanted to be, for lack of a better term, I've been using this term a lot today, and it's yoked out of their mind. You know what I mean? Like just absolute monsters of men in the 80s and like the early 90s and that. So like that was the thing. Now it's more of this toned jacked, if you will, but like these MMA, this mixed martial arts is coming about where you don't need to be 300 pounds of pure muscle. You could be like a Conor McGregor or 135 and still kick the shit out of everybody that comes across your path. You know what I mean? And you're still tough and you're still strong in your own right. So I don't, to answer the question quickly, I don't think there will ever be anybody kind of like, if it hasn't happened yet, it's not going to happen. At least in our lifetimes, that we'll see here. But Fitty, what about you? What are your thoughts?
No, I think those are definitely valid points. Yeah, and I don't think it'll ever happen again, because the thing is, like, there's too many other sports now that are popular, just mainstream social media, right? So it's also changed the game, like in that regard. The guy think, like, Arnold grew up, people were using rotary phones, right, and writing letters. Like, there's no computers, no this, no that. But he, everybody knew who he was, like, coming up. And I think the other thing is as well, like, you have to realize, if somebody like Jay Cutler didn't do it, or Ronnie Coleman couldn't do what Arnold did, and they were close, but they couldn't do it, then no one's overtaken Ronnie Coleman or Jay Cutler, let alone overtaken, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because I don't think people also, like, to what you guys were saying, like, don't admire a 300-pound super jacked guy now. You look at him, you're like, look at this guy, like, he's probably on steroids. Like, to Dave's point, like, you look at a guy who's like Tom Brady and you're like, wow, I want to be that guy when I'm 47 years old and be like that trim and that in shape. I don't think people admire, like, you being super jacked like he was, or Ivan Drago was, you know what I mean? Like in Rocky IV, with Dolph Lundgren. So I just think the times have changed, but yeah, I don't think there'll ever be another him in weightlifting.
Yeah, for sure. Mister, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with all you guys. I think the thing is, it's just a different time period, different mindset across the board. You just look at it from the 60s to the 80s. It's just a different time period. I mean, during that time period, that's what the guys was doing, trying to get as big as possible. Try and get as big as possible. And like Arnold, he came over here to America from a different country, and his outlet was weights. And he was able to, put himself in a good position where somebody saw him and wanted to, see where they can go with him. And, and that's going to be rare. You're not going to find too many guys like that now.
No.
Like 50 said, plus there's just so many different avenues getting your fix, whatever that might be. Everybody, not lifting. I mean, like 50 said, there's a lot of different activities, a lot of different games. I think the time period is just different. Like I used to watch the weights um, all the time in the early '80s and '90s, and looking at Sean Ray, Coleman. I mean, all them guys. We talking about guys who are just jack. Looking at the muscle magazines, and this is just different now. Guys
Yeah.
got too many more, just too many more opportunities to do other things. And I just don't think, a lot of people are serious like that, how he was. It was his way out of his situation.
Yeah, you're not wrong with that there. I know one guy like that now, and we've had him on the show, and that's Andrew the Destined Legend Mitchell. He is an IFB powerlifting pro. He's placed in a couple of events, and the biggest dude next to James Harrison that I've seen in person in my life. Like ooh, I just lost my headphones there. He is jacked for. I mean, obviously, there's a reason now because he's an IFB pro. But at the time when I met him, I was managing an Anytime Fitness, and he was the district manager at the time. And just looking at him and being where I was at like 175 pounds at 6'5", so like not that big of a dude. Just looking at him like, dude, you got them all. Like you got all the muscles. Like why are you still here? Like you got them all. Like I can I have some? Because but yeah, but it's just a different mindset of a person. And there's one person that I know, and greatest dude in the world. Don't get me wrong with that. Like Drew Mitchell, I know he listens to the show a lot. Thanks for the support and everything like that too. But yeah, biggest dude that I've seen in person. Next to James Harrison, and I don't know. Were you there, Fitty, for the charity basketball game with the Steelers when
Yeah.
James Harrison was there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie Batch walked right past me in the when I was in the training room talking to T Mike. Charlie Batch just walked out the back door. So yeah, I was there for it.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was seeing him and playing against him. That was the one game that I decided to play basketball, and I'm the worst basketball player in the world. Yeah, and just seeing Harrison there, I'm like, dude, your bicep is the size of my torso. Like, why are you this big? Like, so like there's that mindset with people. And it's changed completely. Like, because who wouldn't want to be Tom Brady in their 40s right now? I mean, don't like to do it as an athlete because he's that good, but he's a good looking dude for 40s. You know what I mean? Like that is what it is, and that's the new standard. I would say.
I feel like there are some jack dudes. I mean, there's like The Rock,
Well,
Cena. I don't know. Do they? I guess they're not as big as
They're-
maybe Schwarzenegger was, but
They're not as big, as Schwarzenegger was in his prime with weightlifting. They're not even close to where
Yeah.
he was.
And and the thing with the whole body thing, like I mean, that was their life. Like that was their full-time job, their body.
That's all they did.
You know what I'm saying? Lifting and competing. And you just don't have I think we just at a different time period where people, and then plus, but not only that though, but just look, at this with all the information we have to look at and access, you look at and see how many of these bodybuilders from the 70s and 80s and even early 90s, look at how the toll it took on their body.
Mm-hmm.
Look at them right now. Especially Conan, man. Every time I see him, man, I just want it's just sad.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, the steroids took a big toll on their bodies back then now. That they didn't think was going to happen, but such is life. It is. But we'll move on from the weightlifting here, Mister. And what do you think is the movie that Arnold played is the best role ever and his most well known for?
Predator.
We asked tough questions here. Yeah, we asked a tough question here.
Yeah, I think that Predator, what I'm saying, set him off, man. Early on, Predator and Commando. I think when those two movies came out, when he played those two movies, man, movies just started coming in left and right. Commando and Predator.
Okay, Fitty, what about you?
I think his best role he probably ever played, I'm going to say it's probably Terminator 2, because there's not too many sequels to movies that have been said to be better than the original. Could argue maybe Top Gun, The Godfather, and maybe Terminator. But I think Arnold, like the way he flipped his character from 1 to 2, was pretty great. So I think his best acting movie he's ever done is Terminator 2.
I gotcha. D. Frank.
Yeah, so I think Terminator is probably the role that made him the most popular. But I go back to my earlier comment. When he did True Lies, his role as Harry Tasker, where he was kind of the secret agent and then a family man by day. It really showed all of his action as well as his kind of comedic chops as well. Which that's kind of what he's known for, right? He's been known for doing a little bit of everything. He did the action and he did the comedy there as Harry Tasker in True Lies.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think his most well-known role is probably Terminator, right? Everybody does the I'll be back, my favorite obviously is when he does comedy stuff as well. I think that his blend and his ability to be able to make fun of himself is fantastic. So my favorite role is obviously him in Last Action Hero for that reason. It's just such a fun movie, making fun of like 90s action movies, making fun of himself. Like and the fact that he had a rivalry with Sylvester Stallone, like it's just such a fun film. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, that for me, I gotta say Terminator 2. Yeah, I lean 1 because of the I'll be back and everyone knowing that line. But kind of like what Fitty was saying, the flip. I mean, you can argue the Expendables for some of the newer stuff that a lot of people know him for, and just how long that series went with the Expendables, and having sequel after sequel after sequel with that one. But I'd have to say that the Terminators for me would be what he's most well known for. Everyone knows that one, and everyone quotes those movies to an extent. And yeah, I gotta go Terminator. But Cole, what would be his worst movie in your opinion?
Oh man, that's hard. I don't. I mean, there's some rough ones out there, right? Like I'm thinking of some of his later stuff. Like I saw a movie, I think it was called The Sixth Day, which was mediocre. It wasn't great, but it was like whatever. I think just like at a certain point when you kind of hit those 2000s, it took a little bit of a dive, I think, with a lot of actors that are based off of their looks. And it's not really his acting chops per se. Like he's a fun actor, but he's not like a great actor by any means. But I think it's probably the latter stuff that he did. Younger wise, I mean, Conan is ridiculous and he's not great in Conan. It's just such a fun movie though. So I don't know. Yeah, probably the latter stuff, like The Sixth Day. I didn't really enjoy that.
I got you, D. Frank. I saw you waving your arms up, so like you have one in mind that's obvious. What do we got?
There's only one answer to this question, Mike, and I'm sorry if I'm going to take this from everybody else, but his turn as Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin might be the worst movie in history. It set the Batman series back a decade and took a Christopher Nolan remake in order to make it happen. It's Batman and Robin. His Mr. Freeze was awful.
You're not wrong on that one, but Fitty, what about you?
I'm gonna say, because like I don't know if many people have seen this, but it's called End of Days. And the thing is, like, I like those. Let me say this the right way. I don't like demonic movies like The Exorcist, but I like movies like End of Days, like someone's possessed and you have a good guy fighting a bad guy, whatever. It's stuff that's not real, right? Like Fallen with Denzel Washington, same thing. So I like End of Days, but he is not an End of Days actor, like fighting the devil on earth who's trying to have the Antichrist born. It's just not his jam, right? Like, I mean, Gabriel Byrne's in it, Kevin Pollak's in it, but you get in a lot of like demonic possession, cult stuff, the Catholic Church. Like, it's very far-fetched, and he's like a man who lost his faith. It's just not his jam. It's just not his jam in that. And I just don't think he fit the part. I think he probably played a better Mr. Freeze in the Sixth Day than he did in than he did in End of Days, like fighting the devil on Earth. So I got to go End of Days, even though I do like the movie. It was a bad acting job by him.
I got you, Mister. What about you?
Man, I tell you what, man, Frank, you talking about Batman, Robin? Oh my gosh, that just made me think about it. And you're right. I mean, that's one I was like, golly, he could have passed that one up. Um, but that one, I mean, the Batman, Robin, the End of Days, and then another one is I think it's called Maggie, or it's something. He had a daughter who's have a virus or something like in the world type deal. You know, so I can't think of the name of the movie, but that one was kind of it was like okay, he's searching, or he's just trying to fill time.
Yeah,
But
I think if we're
the
forgetting the
Maggie,
names of the movies, like yeah, that's definitely got to be up there as one of the worst. If you can't even remember the name of the movie, like
yeah,
that's
I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it was pretty, yeah. But in the days, and you know what, and I might have watched In the Days maybe once, and I don't think I've watched. I don't think I ever watched that whole movie. You know,
I've never watched it, so that would put it up there for me because I've never watched it. But D. Frank, with the Batman and Robin, Mister Freeze, I forgot all about that. And I'm a huge Batman fan, for sure. Um, that
Like that's
was
called
that.
repressed memories.
Yeah, because that just sparked that back up for me. Now I'm thinking of the lines from it, and they're coming back to me after you mentioned it, and it's just awful. It was a terrible acting job for that, but yeah, thank God they saved the
Wasn't
Batman.
that the one with George Clooney?
Yeah, that was Clooney.
George
Yeah.
Clooney and
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey
Jim
as the
Carrey,
Riddler.
and was Uma Thurman in that one too? Or she in the
Yeah, she
other one?
played Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
The only thing from that entire movie that partially redeemed it was the soundtrack was fair at best.
Oh,
right?
with Seal.
Yeah, the
With
Seal. Yeah,
Seal.
the soundtrack was awesome for that one, but the acting by Arnold was just yeah, it was terrible.
Oh, and who played Robin? What was his name? Chris O'Donnell.
O'Donnell, yeah.
So in reality,
That
the
movie
cast
sucked.
is actually pretty good if you think about it.
Oh, the
But I
cast
think
was
it was
great.
the acting, like, because I mean, you have like George Clooney, you have Schwarzenegger, of Uma Thurman, Chris O'Donnell, Jim Carrey. Like, it's not a bad cast if you really think about it. But yeah, the acting was pretty, but the acting was bad.
Acting was
Hey,
terrible.
I think they was all high when they made that movie. Every single last one of them was high.
Yeah,
They all.
yeah. I'll back that. Yeah, 1,000%. Absolutely on that one. Uh, Mister, where does Arnold rank amongst the best overall actors of all time, in your opinion?
So I think he top 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, top 100.
Okay. Fitty.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people know my top 10. We've talked about that before. He's definitely not top 20. I would say because of his range, like I think his range is good. Like he's done comedy, he's done action, the Devil movie, Conan, he did the movie it was like his first movie, whatever, and he was the Greek god. That one, like from the late 60s, early 70s. Not Adonis. Anyways, whatever. He did that one. So he has a lot of range. I don't know. I would probably put him like mid 30s, like 35, 36, greatest actor of all time. Because I mean, it's really hard to crack a top 20, let alone top 10. So I put him like 35 because of his range.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. He's like 40 to 50 for me. Yeah, on my list. Yeah, he's top 50. I'll give him that, but yeah, I'm not going any higher than 40 for sure. D. Frank, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think top 50 just simply because of his cultural relevance all the way around. His acting chops, while not great, are memorable. And anybody that can make the movie Junior, where he plays a pregnant guy and get away with it, you got to have him in the top 50.
Absolutely. Cole, what about you?
Yeah, I think top 50, but he is my favorite action star. He's my favorite action actor of all time. So Me personally, I put him in my top 20 in my own personal favorite actors, but I think like you guys have been saying, his cultural relevance is super important, and his ability to, play comedy and action, it's got to put him pretty high up there overall.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, top 50 is fair. We'll say.
Like
Uh,
goddamn Junior.
mainly because Mr. Freeze set him back like 25 spots, for sure. But yeah,
Ronald,
no,
the movie I was talking about is Hercules in New York,
Hercules in New York.
1970.
Yeah.
It's like when he could barely speak English. He came over, and there's a scene in that he's like throwing the discus. He like takes his shirt off, and it's like, I mean, you're talking about Arnold 55 years ago. So he's like 23 years old. He's like the hugest he ever was. Like takes his shirt off, and then he throws a discus, and the guy's just like looking at it, and he's like, his like mouth is like hanging open. He throws it like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, he's Hercules. He threw it like 500 yards or something like that in the
Yeah.
movie. But yeah, the Hercules in New York. If you guys never seen it, please watch it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, I think those are all fair rankings for sure. But Cole, we're gonna round out the show with this one here. Do you think Arnold or Stallone was a bigger movie icon in the 80s and 90s? Not considering the 2000s or the present day, just the 80s or the 90s.
I mean, I've already said when we did the Stallone show, I already said Schwarzenegger was bigger.
Yeah, we fought about that.
Yeah, we
We
did.
fought about that.
But he is. I mean, most known worldwide, it's going to be Schwarzenegger over Stallone all day. And I love Stallone. Like I love Rocky, love those movies. But when you look at like what they did throughout their career in movies, it's got to be Schwarzenegger.
Okay, DeFrank, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I think from an acting standpoint, I'm going to go Stallone only because I feel like Rocky has more cultural relevance than some of the science fiction movies that Arnold's done. But I think if you look at the total breadth of what Arnold's done as an actor, as a politician, and all together, it's really, really, really tough. As an actor, though, Stallone.
Stallone. All right, Fitty, I think I know where you're going with this.
Well, you know what? If we're looking at the 80s and 90s, like here's the thing: Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 were in the 70s. So you're talking Rocky 3, 4, and 5. And then you're getting the like with Stallone, like, I mean, a bunch of things, but like you think of like Demolition Man, you think of like Assassins with Antonio Banderas, you think of like Cliffhanger, you think of like Daylight, so you start thinking about that. Like, I mean, I think Stop or My Mom Will Shoot might have been in the 90s as well. So you're thinking of that, and then the Rambos, right? That's probably what Stallone was best known for, probably in that time, more than
Yeah.
Rocky 3, 4, and 5, because they kind of got stupid at various points. Even though I love Rocky, but you had like Arnold doing like this plethora of different genre, where like Stallone just either played like an actor or a guy that was getting blown up and then coming back and just like whipping your ass. So like, I don't know, Arnold had like a different range. So you know me, I mean, I love Sylvester Stallone. That is my home guy till I die. Like that, I love him to death. But I would probably say Arnold was more well known as an actor in the 80s and 90s because he played more diverse roles. And also, some of Stallone's stuff was pretty far-fetched. Like, if anybody remembers in Rambo 3 when he got shot in the side and he blew a hole through his side to, like, cauterize the wound. I mean, no one does that, right? Like no one blows a hole up in their side to cauterize a wound. And the movie Daylight was very, very far-fetched when he, like, blew a hole in the bottom of the river to come up through New York City, and then like in the movie Cliffhanger, like he's like shooting someone with a gun underneath the ice, and he came out no hypothermia, hair was completely slicked back, like, so he like did some like very far-fetched stuff where Arnold did more realistic stuff. So I'll give Arnold a nod. It was long-winded, but we're on the Ride Home Rants podcast, and I'm just kind of ranting about bad Stallone movies.
Gotcha, Mister. What about you?
Oh man, just give me the Predator, man. Give me the Predator. I'll take the Predator. That guy doing Junior though, man, that kind of just messed it up for me for a long time when he did Junior.
Yeah, it's
You ain't see Rambo do any of that stuff though. He don't got no movies like that, huh? No, no.
Mister, you're forgetting about it. An excellent film from Stallone, Tango and Cash.
Tango and
Oh
Cash.
my gosh, yes. Tango and Cash was absolutely that was good. That was a good one.
That
Yeah.
was a good
And
one
hey,
for sure.
Bono, here's another one. I just thought about this too. So I'm pretty sure someone can fact check me on this, but The Predator could be the only movie in the history of cinema that had two future governors of the United States in it, Jesse the Body Ventura and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I would want somebody to challenge me on that one.
That's a good point.
We're gonna have to look this up off the air and figure this out for you. I'm not sure for that one. For me, I made a lot of good points for Arnold in that one, but I still got to give the nod to Stallone for that one. Mainly, the Rambos and the Rockies that he was, just because those movies set up the Creed series in the present day and everything like that too as well. What the Rockies was, so it's moved other actors on in their careers and everything like that, with Michael B. Jordan playing Creed. But yeah, I got to give a nod to Stallone, mainly because I can understand him more in his earlier stuff than I could Arnold, with both of them having pretty thick accents, for sure. But yeah, for me, that's where I'm going around. This Arnold show was saying Stallone was better in the 80s and 90s for them, and that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I want to thank all of my guests, Mr. Cole, D. Frank, and Fiddy, for joining the show. Getting to talk all things Arnold Schwarzenegger for this one. It was a lot of fun. A lot of nostalgia with some older movies and everything like that. And as always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways, because they might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week.
The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Dubby Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.